Hello everybody and welcome back to LMM. By now you may have noticed that we've amassed quite the collection of vehicles, and in this new series we're going to be taking a closer look at them, talking a bit about what they are and what it is that makes us love them so much. So it makes sense to start off with the car that started it all, my Peugeot 106. This is Legacy, and she was registered on the 14th of March 1998, and before me she had 3 owners, one of which was my Nan. She's powered by the 1.1 litre throttle body controlled 4-cylinder petrol, although there were other versions available. There's a 1.5 old school diesel and there was an electric version which debuted in 1995. She is a Phase 2 106 which debuted in 1996, although the original 106 appeared in 1991. And the range continued all the way up to 2003. Now, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think these were ever sold outside of Europe. So to our continental cousins, I present to you one of the best ever little cars, at only 3.7 meters long and weighing in at 835 kgs. She is a tiny but wonderful little thing. She is a Look 2, which means something. It's a bit of an unusual spec because it's got workout windows, but unusually it's got 4 doors and a boot, power steering, gas struts in the bonnet and forward fog lights. And I think it's an exceptionally good looking little car. In fact, it's one of my favourite ever looking little cars, and I much prefer the lines of the 5-door over the 3. That said, I generally hate 3-door cars. I like being able to get to the back seats by opening a door rather than having to bend double and climb out like you're in some kind of circus performance. I took ownership of Legacy here way back in 2013 when my Nan's deteriorating health meant that she had to give up driving, and at that point the car was on 88,000 miles. Now, I'd been borrowing and driving this car for a few years prior, and that's quite noticeable when I look back over the service history. In 4 years before I started driving it, Nan had managed just about 10,000 miles. In the 2 years that I was borrowing it and driving her around, I'd managed to meet that in half the time. And since taking ownership of it, and in the decade that followed, I've managed to put on over 100,000 miles. Nobody in the factory ever foresaw this little car doing that many miles. This is an absolutely super first car. Good on fuel, great fun to fly along on the back roads, and if you've got more than one person in it, absolutely gutless. I used to go out with Nan a lot, and we used to go out in this car a lot. Previously, she'd had a 205, and I loved that as well. But when the non-power assisted steering became too much for her, it was given away to my cousin, who, much to my Nan's eternal frustration, still can't drive, and her beloved little car ended up rotting away on a driveway. The 106 was Nan's sole car, and if Mum was busy, Nan would be on hand to give me a lift to my friends, into town, or generally just take me out somewhere. A favourite was going to get fish and chips, which we'd bring home and then eat in the car. I don't know why we did that, but that was the tradition. My Nan ended up living just down the road from me, and my first model railway was there. Nan was like another parent growing up. So losing Nan to dementia was really hard. The woman who had helped raise me, having to become a carer and looking after her, that made me grow up a lot. But that's why this car is important. It's very tired. It has been all over the UK. It's been up to the north, down to the southwest, into Scotland, in fact right up to the top of Scotland, into Wales, east, west, all over. This car is my link to Nan. Morgan has repeatedly expressed his thoughts that I should get rid of it and replace it with something similar like the Quicksilver. But that's not the point. Every time I sit down in this car, I think of Nan. Being in this car is the closest I can ever get to seeing her again. And I like to think of what she'd think of this stupid collection and what I've achieved with my life. And that's why this car is so important to me. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is a damn good little car. And whenever people come to me and say, do I have any recommendations for a good first car? This is always my first point of call. The interior is certainly cramped, and I can confirm that it is indeed not the car to do long distance in. But there's always been a sense of home getting into this thing, and in the 100,000 miles that I've put onto it, it has never failed to get me home under its own power. And that's when a car becomes more than just a car. It becomes a reliable friend, someone or something that you can trust. I've always loved how this car is to drive, and I've been rather alarmed at just how quickly they've disappeared. At one point my ex had one and friends of friends had them, and now, well, it's quite the occasion to see one trundling about on the road. And I've always really loved this era of Peugeot. I love this one, and I love its bigger brother, the 306. Currently, at time of filming, Legacy is off the road. Following our absolutely disastrous trip up to Skye, where Morgan's BMW went home on a lorry, Matt's MR2 broke down 4 times, and the AA had to come out and rescue this twice. It was clear that the car needed some love. And on the way home, this little thing managed the same MPG as Matt's MR2. So there's clear that there's something not quite right in the engine. Now, I've done the head gasket once on this already, and when we did that, it was clear that it had been done before. And the cylinder head is also different to what it should have had when new, apparently. So clearly, at some point in its earlier life, it's had some work done to it. This car is the next thing on my priority list to do. As soon as my current project is finished and off the ramp, this is the next thing that I'm going to work on, because I love it and I want it back. It is a truly completely unremarkable little car, but it's absolutely fantastic, and I love it more than anything else in this entire world. Well, that's basically it. That's a brief history on why I love the 106. So, hope you've enjoyed the new series, guys. Let us know what you want us to feature next, and of course, thanks for watching. Ta-ra.